Viewers, India has just concluded the mother of all deals with Europe. And the architect of that deal, who came up with the formulation, ironically the first time actually, people forget that, is sitting with me, Minister Piyush Goyal. He needs no introduction. He's been the go-between Delhi and many capitals globally. Thank you very much, Mr. Goyal, for speaking to me. It's wonderful. This has been called a win-win deal. It's been called the mother of all trade deals. In plain terms, is this a win-win in intent or in trade balance terms?
I have always believed that every agreement can only be successful when both parties stand to benefit. Both parties, people and their economies see gain in that. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has very clearly laid out a context in which we are negotiating our different free trade agreements. And the context is that we are looking for trading arrangements, particularly with like-minded, fair play, fair trading countries, democracies in most cases, countries which complement the Indian economy rather than become our competitor. For example, we've done 8 free trade agreements in the last 4 years. All of them are with developed countries. Not a single country with less than $20,000 per capita income. We covered 37 countries within these 8 trade deals. The 27 of EU, 4 European countries in FTA, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Oman, UAE, and Mauritius. Now, all of these countries, the cost of manufacturing, cost of operations are significantly higher than India, given the differing levels of development. They have technology, they have innovation, they have products of a nature which are not yet made in India. They have huge amounts of pools of capital which they can invest in India. And therefore, with each one of them, we've drawn up a very fair, delicate balance, recognizing that unless it's good for both, it will never be sustainable.
So you made an interesting point. You said if it makes trade logic for both sides. It took nearly 2 decades to conclude. Would this have happened without today's geopolitical churn?
Of course, this has nothing to do with the current day situation. After all, even we decided to go into the FTA in 21 at the India-EU summit at Porto. In mid-22, we launched negotiations. We've been negotiating 3.5 years.
But you were in power since 2014, so why this 7-year lag?
Because if you remember, the economy we inherited in 14 was a fragile 5 economy. It was a terrible mess. Growth was at 4%, double-digit inflation. Our banking system was broken. If we had entered into free trade deals during that first term in office, do you realize we would have had to give up far more than we would have gained? Because we didn't have any story to tell. The FTA is about the future. And as a weak economy, what future could I have shown to the rest of the world? What would I have negotiated against the European Union? A small economy in doldrums left behind by the Congress party? We used the first 6-7 years to strengthen our economy, to make India one of the fastest growing large economies, to show to the world that today we are a $4 trillion economy, but will become a $30 trillion economy in the next 2.5 decades. It is that strength that we are negotiating with other countries, which brings them to the table, which attracts them to do a trade deal with India on fair terms, which gives us the confidence that we can also extract good benefits while we open our markets to other countries. And I think we have strengthened our negotiating position in the intervening period.
So it's been noticed in DC widely, as you know. Can this become a template for the India-US conversation?
I have always held, Rahul, that every deal, every free trade agreement stands on its own footing. And we never hyphenate two transactions. every economy has its nuances, has its positives, has its weaknesses, has certain attractiveness. And we have to look at each deal very carefully, crystal gazing into the future and defining what's a fair and equitable balance between two economies.
Are you at least seeing a greater sense of urgency now in DC as far as now there's been an increase and uptick in negotiations, people coming back and forth?
Not at all.
EM is going to be the next
We've been having
week.
regular engagement with our colleagues in DC. I have wonderful relationship with my counterparts in Washington, DC. We are in regular touch on video conferences, on messages. We met earlier last year a few times, 3 times I think we've met. We've also got our teams engaged with each other, sorting out a few things. I'm very optimistic that that deal will also go through very quickly.
Your own counterpart in the US, Mr. Besant, didn't have the nicest
He's
thing
not
to
my
say.
counterpart, by the way.
Okay. He made a comment directed towards the EU. Do you see this as something that could have been avoided? I'm just asking from a...
Well, I don't wish to comment on senior leaders of another country. They're entitled to their opinions.
Fair enough. India walked away from RCEP, citing risks to domestic industry, as you know, especially from China. Is India reconsidering RCEP, or is that door now firmly shut?
Rahul, in my humble opinion, it is the worst and most anti-India decision that the Congress party and their allies, the DMK and Samajwadi Party and Mr. Sharad Pawar and all could have taken. The decision to throw India under the bus and possibly kill the India growth story by entering into the RCEP. I'll explain why. From 2006, 20 years ago, to 13, they also negotiated with the European Union. They should have actually concluded that deal. They didn't have the courage of conviction, they didn't have the guts to do that deal and gave up in 2013. I don't know whether there was any other reason, I don't know. They will be the best to answer. But that weakness has cost this country millions of jobs. It has cost this country probably billions of dollars of investment. It has cost us billions of dollars of foreign exchange earnings, a great boost that our economy could have got if the same thing was done 20 years ago. But they didn't do it. On the other hand, what were they doing? RCEP was between a set of countries where India was not in the picture. When RCEP was launched, it was the 10-nation ASEAN group, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand and China. 15 countries. We were not there. They launched it, well and good. We already had an FTA with ASEAN. We already had an FTA with Japan and Korea. We were on the verge of concluding an FTA with Australia at that point of time when we launched, got into RCEP. And our trade with New Zealand that time was bilaterally $300 million. That's all. What was the reason to get into that RCEP negotiation where effectively, if you see, we were doing an FTA with China. It was a China-India FTA as far as India was concerned in RCEP. And
so when they're pushing you
can
now,
you imagine
are they
what
being
it would have done
irresponsible?
to Indian industry, to Indian farmers, to Indian fishermen, to Indian MSMEs, to our automobile sector? It would have completely demolished the Make in India story, the manufacturing story. We would have today been an import-dependent country.
So when they're pushing you now, are they doing a disservice once again?
Well, it's only a few people in the Congress party and their allies who are talking about RCEP. Nobody in India wanted RCEP. I personally have had 200 stakeholder consultations. Chambers of commerce, industry associations, sectoral interests, 200 across the country under Prime Minister Modi's
specific question to you. China-led blocs a no-no for NDA?
Absolutely a no-no. It will hurt India because we want to do deals, free trade agreements with countries where there's fair transactions, fair play, who are not going to dump overproduction or overcapacities into our country at predatory pricing. How could that ever be good for India? It's something that I hold the Congress party squarely responsible for. It is thanks to Prime Minister Narendra Modi that India got saved on 4th November 2019 when he announced at the RCEP meeting in Bangkok that India will not join RCEP.
Well, big headline. No to China-led blocs is a big headline coming from Minister Piyush Goyal. Now, ASEAN remains a major trading bloc and a partner. Yet India runs a persistent trade deficit with several ASEAN countries. Does the EU deal now force a rethink of India's ASEAN strategy and its play?
Well, I'm on record many times to say that the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement was also a very badly negotiated agreement that the Congress party has left behind and we have inherited. We are currently renegotiating with the ASEAN bloc to bring more fairness into the transaction, to hopefully strengthen the rules of origin. And I do hope the ASEAN countries will support us in that, because otherwise India has lost out due to the ASEAN agreement that the Congress party had entered into.
Now, you have Canada next.
And I don't say that, by the way. Everybody in industry comes and complains.
So this is a view from
the industry view. It's the view from MSMEs. They are the ones who are complaining all the time.
And they were okay about Europe. They were okay about this
There's
big
jubilation. You can see it. We have done 8 free trade agreements, Rahul. You will find the amount of stakeholder consultations we do extend, expands, breadth, length and breadth of the country we cover, and get their feedback and respect their feedback.
And the reaction you're saying from industry has been positive.
You find out all
Even the automobile
free trade
sector,
agreements and the reaction of industry, and you'll only see
the steel,
positivity.
automobile, all sectors have
all
come back
have given us positivity. I've talked to Chandra of Tata's, I've talked to Anish Shah, the CEO of Mahindra's, I've talked to Rahul Bharti, the ED of Maruti Suzuki. As far as auto goes, steel, of course, I've talked to JSW Steel, I've talked to Tata Steel. Everybody is delighted.
EV manufacturers?
EV manufacturers largely are Tatas and Mahindras only. And we protected them significantly. Up to 20,000 euro, no EVs will be given any concessions. Even after that, there's only a quota of, I think, about 1 lakh of cars in 14 years from now, by which time we'll be probably selling 1 crore EVs. Or
This is a very interesting statement, because I've been following your statements and you've been sort of also urging industry to become more competitive, Indian industry. So you've opened so many markets. Will industry now follow? What are they saying?
See, I am very
What is your expectation?
You saw
Why
the
aren't they
Honorable
following?
Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Right from 2014, he's been stressing on quality. In 14, he gave the mantra of Z, zero effect, zero defect. So much so that in his Man Ki Baat also, he spoke about quality. In the Parliament, first day opening remarks, he spoke about. Honorable Prime Minister understands that we have to become a developed nation. We have to have high quality standards. Brand India should speak for itself. And I'm in continuous dialogue with Indian industry under Honorable Prime Minister's guidance and with his support to encourage them to adopt global standards, encourage them to make sure that any product made in India, both for the Indian consumer, who have a right to good quality, as much as for the global market. What we want to see is those old days when the Congress was in power, when you went to a shop, you would say, "Arey bhai, jara export quality maal dikhana." Because unfortunately they had institutionalized, particularly through their opening of the Indian market for influx of goods from countries which had substandard quality production. You used to look for an export quality if you wanted good quality. What we wish to see is an India where you go to the market and you see any product and it's high quality.
So let me ask you this, because some of the deals that we've done now with UK and so on and so forth, and you yourself said that FTAs look at the future. You're now going to go to Canada, for instance, and others. With UK, you brought on a lot more. It wasn't just a trade deal. So with Canada and Chile and some other countries that we're going to, I'm not going to say they're smaller economies and this, that, the other, but obviously India is going to be growing. We're going to become gigantic in 10 years, 15 years. What is the X factor that comes to the table?
See, try to understand. As I explained, we used the first 6 years to strengthen our position, so much so that we could now negotiate from a position of strength. Our earlier free trade deals, we were so weak that we would actually give more than we got. And we were not able to really understand India's own strength, the strength of 1.4 billion Indians. 140 crore Indians full of youthful energy, aspiration, talent, skill. This is today our biggest strength. The fact that from a 4 trillion we are going to become a 30 or 35 trillion dollar economy brings us a delta of opportunity, such a huge opportunity that we offer to the counterparty and we say, this is what I have. You remember that old Diwar dialogue? मेरे पास माँ है. मेरी माँ आज 140 करोड़ देशवासी है. And that strength, when I bring that to the table, I'm able to negotiate a much better and stronger deal. And it's always holistic. With Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Iceland and Norway, I said, your economy, your people are so few. Economy is small. Even after 20 years, you will be a much smaller economy than India. So commit me $100 billion FDI. They can't put it into the stock market and say we've done it. Yeah. Foreign direct investment of 100 billion is 9 lakh crores. If they have Indian partners, another maybe 9 lakh crores.
So with Canada and Chile, what you're looking at?
The ecosystem goes, you are seeding a 50 lakh crore investment. You're seeding lakhs and lakhs of jobs. With New Zealand, the same story. You know, New Zealand in 25 years has invested only $70 million. Today's exchange rate, 630 crores. And what have they committed in the next 15 years? $20 billion. 630 crores in 25 years, 1,80,000 crores in the next 15 years. Why? Because India is the emerging superpower. They can see that in front of their eyes.
So with EU, now look, every trade deal has a price. We know this. What was the hardest concession India had to make to close this agreement, sir?
None whatsoever. Every area that we have opened up has been very well thought through. Deep consultations with our stakeholders, calibrated approach to opening up, to give enough transition time for Indian industry, but with the ultimate objective that if India is to become a developed nation, we need to compete with the best in the world, and we have the ability to do it.
But we're also at the same time looking at Atmanirbharta, production at home. There are critics who are saying that, look, European automakers, premium brands will get easy access to India. How do you ensure Indian manufacturers aren't uncut in this exchange?
It's only weaklings who think that way. I'll tell you how our government thinks. Take the auto industry, since you mentioned the auto as a specific example. What have we done? We've opened up to 8 existing traditional automakers, a quota which will grow from probably 100,000 cars to 250,000 cars in the next 14 years. Even today, we sell 50 lakh cars, 5 million cars. In the next 14 years, this is going to grow to probably 150 million cars, at least. At that point of time, it will be 2.5 lakh cars. 1.5 crore ke samne 2.5 lakh cars is the quota. Even in that quota, 90% of Indian market is under 20 lakhs, between 10 to 20 lakhs. We have protected cars on the road up to 25, 30 lakhs, which are just not being opened. So 15,000 euro ICE engine, combustion engine, and 20,000 euro electric engine, zero quota. So 90% of my market is just exclusively for Indian producers. Even in the high-end luxury cars which we've opened up with different segments having a quota, it will be diversified with between 8 automakers. And I've talked to all of them, both in Europe and their representatives in India. They say we can never compete with India in actual manufacturing. What we need is an opening to test the market. I suppose Mercedes makes 4 models. They'd like to introduce those 4 models and test which is the one that suits the Indian palate, where they see a potential, or where their manufacturing in India could give them an India market and they could export to Latin America, to Africa, to other Asian countries. And then they'll manufacture in India, getting the benefits of economies of scale and selling. With their labor costs, with shipment costs, the voluminous cars, with all of that put in, how can they ever compete with the Indian manufacturer? Are you aware India today exports $9 billion of automobiles. How much are we importing? 900 million, 1/10. We are already a large exporter and we'll continue to grow our exports. I've got a quota 2.5 times for zero duty export to European Union. 625,000 cars against 250,000. So we are very carefully doing the transactions. Even the European car makers understand. Long run, they want to come and manufacture in India. One automaker, one of the most prominent companies in Europe, met me 3 days before we signed the deal. And they were explaining to me, they said, even today, we import 11,000 crores. But we also buy 1,000 crores of parts from India. We buy 3,000 crores of parts, which we export back to Germany and other plants of ours. And we have a GCC, which earns 8,000 crores of revenue through the services side. So net, we are a gainer with their coming to India rather than losing out.
You've elaborated on this point and it's wonderful to hear you expound on it, but I have to ask you a question. You've used a phrase, owners envy, neighbors pride, or the other way around. Neighbors envy, owners pride. Okay. So who are you talking about? We're already seeing countries like Turkey, etc., sort of looking at this and wondering where they missed out. This has been seen as something that you've done, which has cut out a lot of...
a lighter note, remembering the old Onida ad, one feels that 140 crore Indians today...
No, but you've cut out a lot of geography.
Well, I think today we've covered all of Europe, except one or two countries who are inimical to our interests. We have UK in FTA, we have EFTA FTA, we have EU FTA. So we've really been able to cover the whole expanse of the European continent. We are soon launching negotiations with Canada. US is at an advanced stage. We are already talking to Mercosur to expand the preferential trade agreement we have with them. SACU countries, we have not yet started, but there's an initial thought going on with South Africa and India. As I said, we are renegotiating with ASEAN. We are in dialogue with Chile and Peru. Chile, for critical minerals particularly, it will be a great agreement for us to have. The GCC six-nation bloc, we've got Oman and UAE.
With Canada also?
Canada, critical minerals and uranium and all are important elements of that agreement. GCC six-country bloc is also keen to start relaunch negotiations. So we are working across the globe.
So I have time for two more questions. I'm being told politely by your team, and I respect that. If imports rise faster than exports and the trade deficit widens, does the government have a course correction mechanism, or is India, sir, effectively locked in?
First of all, our trade is surplus in our favor with the European Union and will continue to grow in our favor. But we also have clauses in the agreement to safeguard our interests. For any volatility in trade or any surge in trade, we have very, very robust safeguards in the agreement.
Well, Mr. Minister, the rupee is not doing very well right now. Its health is that a matter of concern as we go forward in locking in these FTAs? And do you think the government now needs to step in and perhaps prop the rupee a bit?
I think the concerned monetary authorities would be the right people to respond to that. I would not know the whole
having an impact
context,
on your own
but I can only tell you that rupee intrinsically is a strong currency. The world is going through very volatile and complex times. It's a VUCA world. And I'm fairly confident that the rupee also will, certainly in the years to come, have greater strength as we reduce our dependence, particularly on things like crude oil for imports. As Indian markets become more attractive and the glitter of gold and silver, which is one of the major causes of this huge decline in the last few months, falls, which has already started falling, I'm sure the rupee will be right.
The only reason I posed that question was because at one time the Prime Minister said that a weakening rupee is a sign of greater alarm.
It's contextual, different points of time. One has to look at the context in which and the international global scenario. But I'm fairly confident that the rupee is intrinsically a strong currency and going forward will strengthen in the years to come.
My last 1.5 questions. There's been obviously a tragedy in Maharashtra with the Pawar family, as you know. We're being told by Mr. Sharad Pawar, he's come out in public, that there's a merger on the cards with the NCP. Would you be open to a united NCP? Would the NDA be open to walking the course ahead with a united, unified NCP?
As of now, we have not been given any information formally by Mrs. Sunetra Chauhan, the new leader of the NCP, or by Mr. Praful Patel, the national president of the NCP, of any such
but are the Pawars
impending
welcome?
merger. And I personally don't think it is possible.
Okay, final question. You're also in charge of a very crucial election state. And many people are seeing this as, at least as of now, a triangular contest. But many people are also saying there are conversations going on between the BJP and Mr. Vijay. Would you be open to a post-pre?
I don't think it's a triangular contest. The contest is between the DMK alliance and the AIA-DMK-led alliance of which we are a part.
Will Vijay ever factor in?
We have seen past election story, not only in Tamil Nadu and otherwise. I think unless you have an organization which can convert your fan following into votes, you can be a vote cutter, you can probably win away a small portion of votes.
He sees himself not as a kingmaker, he sees himself as a king.
Well, one can describe hubris as...
So there'll never be a conversation with Vijay, you're saying?
I personally think the AIA-DMK-led alliance, the NDA is going to have a home run in Tamil Nadu. People are frustrated with the misgovernance, corruption, and the anti-Tamil and anti-Tamil culture sentiments of Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, and they will give a befitting reply to Mr. Stalin, his son Mr. Udayanidhi Stalin, and the DMK-led alliance. Also the misgovernance, also the corruption, also the discordant notes that we see between the alliance partners. All of this is leaving a very sour taste in the minds and hearts of the people of Tamil Nadu. Honorable Prime Minister launched the alliance on 23rd January to possibly the largest rally Tamil Nadu has ever seen. And I'm very confident that under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, guidance, and the AIA-DMK General Secretary, Mr. Edappadi Palaniswamy's leadership, the NDA will be back in government this time.
Well, all the best, Mr. Goyal, for your future endeavors. Very important tasks at hand for you, sealing these deals, and of course, the big one in Tamil Nadu. Thank you very much for speaking to me.
Thank you very much, Rahul.
Thank you. Viewers, that was an engaging conversation.
Make informed decisions with comprehensive analysis on the go.
Strengthen your portfolio with real-time market updates on the go. Create effective strategies with insightful expert opinions on the go.
Grow on the go with CNBC TV 18, now streaming live 24/7 on YouTube.
Hey, thank you for watching this on CNBC TV 18. Hope you liked it. For more such interesting news and updates, follow CNBC TV 18 on all the social media platforms.